Spring intel is my favorite thing to talk about this time of year. I want to go straight to LSU. I'm going to hit several campi, plural of campus, in the next few minutes. They knew they had to diversify the run game down there. When Jaden Daniels was on the field last year, he was the run threat, he was a passing threat, and a lot of times guys could just say, down, set, hut, stand there and see what he's going to do. Well, he's not there anymore. And so, no matter who's at quarterback, they know that they're going to have to account for that lost yardage on the ground, and they've got strength. Both sides of the offensive line at tackle, they've got to use it. A lot more outside zone, in other words, is what they've worked on this spring. And I think that it'll pay dividends for them this fall. But also, I am more interested and more, not concerned, but inquisitive about the defensive side in general, because I'm a believer that last year's defensive staff, by way of how subpar they ended up being, probably left a lot of meat on the bone. And that probably means there are some pretty good defensive players at LSU that didn't emerge last year that will emerge this year. Because I can tell you one thing about the staff they got in there now. If they fail, it won't be for lack of quality and for lack of trying. It will simply be they didn't have the personnel. I don't expect LSU to be a top 3 defense in the SEC. I do think some pretty big names are going to emerge or re-emerge because they'll be used the right way. And that's some of the drumbeat and feedback we're getting early on from spring ball down there. And I think with LSU, like many, many other major programs out there, is going to have to look to the portal for interior defensive line help when this thing opens in a couple of weeks. And let me tell you, kids, I've been on the road for over a month now. I've sat down with several coaches and several coordinators and folks from collectives and general managers. There are a lot of big spenders that are all about to target interior defensive line. And all of them think they're going to address their needs. And simple math says they're not all going to get what they think they're going to get. But some defensive tackles are about to get a whole lot of money because of that desperation from otherwise premier teams at that position. Glenn West at Go 24/7 helped us out a lot with that feedback. What about Louisville? Louisville we haven't talked a whole lot about on the show. You think Louisville, you think Jeff Brom, you think offense, right? Well, I want you to think defense. Because defense is the strength of this team right now. And in particular, I think the secondary. This could be one of the best secondaries in the country this year. Dare I say that in April about Louisville? Yes, I do. Had to check the eye Josh twice there. Quincy Riley was there last year, and he was really good, and he's back. But they added several options that they can rotate now. And I really think that secondary is going to be good, and it better be, because it will take this offense a little time. And I think it'll be a more complementary kind of team this year. Running back depth is really good there, though. And let me just tell you, Jody Demling hit us up from Cardinal Authority. Isaac Brown is a freshman running back there. If you want to sound smart with your buddies at the water cooler, start talking to them, albeit in a hushed tone, about Isaac Brown. And they're going to say, oh, yeah, I love that kid. And you're going to say, oh, really, who is he? They don't know who he is. Okay, they just said that hoping you wouldn't call them on their BS. Isaac Brown is a freshman running back at Louisville. He's really good, and I think he could be a star this fall. So keep an eye on him. He's going to get the workload. Keep an eye on him. Maybe, actually, I think that's for freshman. Whatever. Forget about the classification. He's going to be really good. Oklahoma, what's happening? Well, we have to check in on offensive line when we talk about Oklahoma, because that's what the law says. They lost, it feels like 100 offensive linemen. Now, the good news, according to our buddies Tom Green and Colin Kennedy over there at Sooner Illustrated, the good news is the offensive guards they have seem to be coming along very well. The bad news is that's only 2 out of 5 positions, and their starting center went down with injury and probably won't be back until midway through fall camp. So we have to take what we can get, I guess, right now when it comes to offensive line updates at Oklahoma. Now, the tight end room looks upgraded. And also, Deion Burks is a wide receiver they added from Purdue. That dude's going to be a star this fall. In the SEC, Josh? Yes, in the SEC. In this economy, in the SEC, Deion Burks. I don't know how in the world you buy stock in players. Maybe we'll talk to FanDuel about devising a system, but go grab you some Deion Burks stock. I want you talking about Isaac Brown at Louisville. I want you talking about Burks at Oklahoma. What about Kentucky? Remember, this time last year was the time when we would have all been whispering to each other, you know, Devin Leary transferred to Kentucky from NC State. Maybe Kentucky's a sleeper. Well, actually what I think we should do is we should be talking about Brock Vandagriff this year. Speaking to some people close to the old program up there, including Aaron Gershon over at Cat Paws, there is a difference between transferring in and actually transferring in and taking a role. Like, yes, Devin Leary got put in the quarterback position last year. The guys who know the program will quickly tell you Brock Vandagriff also transferred in to play quarterback, but he's actually grabbed the role by the throat, which is not necessarily something they felt like Leary did last year. Of course, it would have helped to know that last year. It would have saved me some embarrassment. But there's also much more tempo being injected into the offense. So if Brock Vandagriff puts up bigger numbers this fall, it won't necessarily be because he's that much better than Devin Leary. It may be because Bush Hamdan was the offense coordinator at Boise, and now he's in there, and they're just going to run a whole lot more plays. It's something apparently Mark Stoops is really prioritized, and I think they'll get it this fall. And, you know, just for fun, before we move on here, I thought it would be very, very helpful for all of us to check in with Boston College. Boston College hired Bill O'Brien as the new head coach. That's one former NFL coach. Did you also know they have Rob Chudzinski up there? Did you also know they have Doug Marrone up there? They got 3 former NFL head coaches on the roster. Does it matter? Well, it doesn't ever hurt. I don't think it's the end-all, be-all. I think they had to tear a lot of this thing down to the studs and start to rebuild it. Look, their over-under is 5.5 wins. Okay, so a bowl, making a bowl is the win this year. They've got a transfer from Texas Tech, Bradley, the receiver, 6'5". He's probably been the highlight of their spring. A.J. Black over at Eagle Insider was talking to us about him. I think that, you know, that may be a bright spot on the team, but let's just see what the pulse is. What is the vibe from Boston College this year more so than anything? That's what I care about.